Hi, in last tutorial we have already discussed how to create a AEM Maven project. In this tutorial we'll talk about the structure of AEM Maven project. As you know, the Maven project is built on modules, means it has a parent POM and it has some modules. These some modules are called modules. So basically all the global configurations are defined in parent POM. So as part of this tutorial we'll talk about the parent POM. Okay, so now let's discuss the sections of parent POM. This POM is responsible to have all the global configurations, and these configurations are applied to all the submodules, main modules. So basically let's understand the sections. So basically first you have project and you have some project specific information like group ID and all. Then you have modules. This tag defines what are the modules you have, and if you have entry of these modules at the build time, it will build all these modules. If you remove any module from this section, that module can stay in your code base but that won't build. Now the properties. You can assume these properties as a global variable to your entire project, means whatever the properties you can define here, you can use those properties in any modules, means you can use those properties in entire project as a expression. I'll show you in demo. Now this section, build section, I'll talk about it. So before I move to this build section, let's understand the plugins, right? Plugins are essential for your Maven project, means plugins are essential for the Maven framework. This is the core of Maven framework. So all the actual work is done by these plugins. There are thousands of plugins available in Maven repository. Their specific plugins are also available for AEM, only specific to AEM. We'll talk about those. So these plugins does everything whatever Maven this framework does. So at a high level, there are two kind of plugins available. One is build plugin, another one is reporting plugin. This is specific for Maven, not specific for AEM. So in AEM project, we only use build plugin. Please note my word, out of the box, we only use build plugins. You can use reporting plugins as well, but AEM archetype does not add any reporting plugins. It only add build plugins. That's why, let me go back here in previous tutorial, previous slides. If you see here, these build plugins are added inside build section. So you will find a section called build section here, this section. This contains two subsections. One is plugins, another one is plugin management. So this plugin define what are the plugins, and plugin management define how these plugins are being used. Moreover, this is a high level. I'll not talk about how these works because we'll talk about only specific to AEM. Now another important section is the profiles. Profiles are used to customize your build behavior, or if you wanna execute any specific configuration, you write in specific profiles. You can define any number of profile as per your need, and we'll see the detailed implementation and detailed use of these profiles as part of AEM project. So now dependency management. So if you want to add any additional dependencies, you can add using this section called dependency management. Take this as an example, right? You already worked on Java project, and if you need additional APIs, those are available as a jar. Those you add in your project path in normal Java project. Same way in Maven project, let's say whatever you need any additional API, and that is available as a Maven repository. So you add a dependency. As soon as you add dependency, that is getting downloaded to your local machine, put in M2 directory, and here you can use it. So this is the project we created as part of previous tutorial. So if you go there and see, I have opened this in Visual Studio, VS Code IDE. So if you see here in the parent, you will only find this POM called parent POM. This POM contains lot of configurations. We'll talk about these as I explained in the slides earlier. So if you go here and see, these are project specific information, group ID, artifact ID, what is the packaging, this is important, version, name and all. Now these modules, if you see these modules, all the modules are available here as a sub module, all, core and whatever you mention here. So if you remove any module from here, that will be present here on the build time, but that won't be part of build. Means whatever written inside this, that won't be included inside your build. That will be skipped while build this project. As I said earlier, these are properties. You can assume these as a global to your entire project. So you can define a variable or the property here, and you can reuse this anywhere in project. For example, you will see here AEM host. This AEM host is being used in profile. So if I search it, you will find this is being used in profiles here. See this here. This is used to define your port number, host number of your AEM. Right, so same way you can add as number of as properties as per your need. For example, core component, you see you are defining the core component version here later on, and you will using inside your POM or anywhere in entire project. So let's say tomorrow you want to upgrade your POM core components, you just need to change the version from here, and that's it. That will be reflected to everywhere else. I'll show you example of this later in this tutorial. Then I said build. You will see the build section. These are build plugins, right? There's a reporting plugins. If you need to add reporting plugins, you have to add under reporting tag. So now because I'm using build plugins, I will add under build section. Now you have plugins. If you open here, this plugin section contain all the plugins what we are using. There are few generic, few specific to AEM as per the need of this project. Later on, if you need any additional, you can add here, right? These are the plugins, and you will find a build plugin management as well. Bottom, you see the plugin management has been closed here, build is closed here. Now another section, profile. This is really important. In AEM project, you use these profiles to deploy your code, to deploy packages, to deploy only bundles, and the default profile is used to download your dependencies from AEM Adobe Public Release Repository. Why I'm saying default, we'll see what is the meaning of default. Okay, so these are profiles. You will see number of profiles here. In last project, we use this profile, Adobe, this one, to deploy our code or these packages to our local AEM. If you see, this contain plugins, this contains behavior. You can update the build behavior using these profiles, and you can call specific configuration using these profiles. So you can write as per your need in any specific profiles, and then you can call these profile whenever you need. Again, whatever defined here inside this, like this is related to properties, so you can add the values of properties at the build time. I'll show you that as well. So these are called profiles. We'll see the use of it. Now dependency management. Inside this, you define their dependencies. In Parent POM, you define the versions, and if you have any specific other information. So dependency management, dependencies, and you will add each and every dependency here. Versions are only added in Parent POM. So if it is being used, let's say this is being used in core module. If you open the POM of core module, as I said, each module has its own POM as well. Here you define these dependencies but without any version. That means these are the child modules, and they will inherit the version from the parent module. That's how you reuse those versions. You must understand about plugins. You will get definitely at least one question in your certification exam about plugins. They can straight away ask what is the purpose of this plugin, or like for this task which plugin is being used. Simply saying which is the words, let's say for example, which is the plugin used to create content package, which is the plugins used to deploy your bundle to AEM straight away. So there are specific plugins which are only used for AEM deployment. For example, you will see the content package plugin, and there are a few as well. So focus on these, read those plugins in detail, and you'll get at least one question about these plugins in your certification exam. Okay, now let's understand about profiles one more time. So whenever you execute any goals, a default profile is always executed with Maven project. How it is executing? So you will find a tag here, right? Go to the profiles. under which you have multiple profiles. Profiles start with the profile tab, right? First you have ID. Now you have this activation. Activation by default is equal to true. This has some meaning, okay? But in other profiles, you will see here activation by default is false. So what I'll do, you will understand in this way, right? First go to the project and start building it. First let me remove my M2 directory. Okay, this is my M2 and let me remove this first. Okay, now my M2 is empty. So now let's understand. Let me run this clean install, right? Now let me stop this a bit. Yeah, what you see, download from, you will see somewhere download from Adobe Public Release. What is that? Adobe Public Release, right? So when I said ambient clean install, a profile by default executed, and which is that profile? You see this tag allow this profile to be executed by default, and what it is saying, what is the repo? So it is being downloaded from here. Right now the dependencies are being downloaded from here. If any dependencies which is not available, that will go to the Maven and then will download from the Maven, right? If, because this is a default, whether I say -p profile ID or not, because this is a default, so this will always execute it. Now let me make it false. Now if I said false, that means this won't execute by default with the goals. Now let me run that again. Now you have noticed earlier downloading from Adobe Release, right? Now let me clear this. Okay, clear, and I'm saying only Maven clean install. I did not define any profile earlier. I did not define any profile now. If I hit now, okay, now I'm just stopping it right away. Now you will see from where this is being download from central, download from central. You don't see download from Adobe Public Release. Why? Now I don't have any default profile, means this profile is not being executed. Only the default profile of Maven is being executed. And what is written there? Download dependencies from Maven repository. So that's why you always see download from central, means download from the Maven repository. And even if you see here, this is being downloaded from repo Maven Apache. Earlier you will see download from Nexus, right? Any dependency which is going to Adobe Public Release, that is coming from the Nexus, but now it's not the case. So that's why in new projects, even if you don't have setting.xml, earlier there was the issue, right? If you don't have setting.xml, you have some issues. Means if you don't have Adobe Public Release repository in your setting.xml, sometimes you get error, because if something is not available in Maven, it don't try to Adobe Public Repository. But now in your project itself, it is written first search here, whether you define this profile or not, then go to Maven. So I will make it true. So what it happened, first it will start searching in these repositories. If nothing is available, then it will move to Maven. This is important because if your project is running your own repositories, own Maven repositories, most of the project, because of the security reasons, manage their own repositories. So here you can define a specific profile and say download only from here, only from your private repository, not from public repository. So these configuration you can do it using profiles, and other configuration as well, which I said. Take example of this auto install bundle. So if you run this Maven clean install -p and this profile, so what it does, it will only and only deploy your bundle to your AEM. Okay, only bundle to your AEM. These profiles like Adobe, this auto install package publish will deploy entire project. It will take everything from the all, as I have already explained, and deploy to your publish. This will deploy on author. Same way you can create a number of profiles as well, other profiles as well, as per your need. Now you must have one more question. Take an example of this. Let's say you have a profile to deploy code on prod. Here you are saying this one, what is my host, what is my port. So you may say this information, you cannot add the prod information in a repository, because in that case that will be available to all the developers. So you can give these values at the build time. So generally these builds are done by this build tools, let's say Jenkins. So you can save this information as a hidden information, and at the time of build you can provide this information, right? So you do not need to store information in your code base. I'll show you how it works. Now let me explain these properties as I already explained, but let me give you a demo. To understand this, let's understand you have version. All the submodules has the version. So in multi-module projects you always have the same version. In AEM project as well you have same version for all the modules for the consistency. So if you see, version is defined here in Parent POM, and in each module version is defined, you will see here. So let's say if you are not using, assume you are not using any plugins, right? You have only the plain project. Now you have to update version every time. So how will you doing it? So what you will do, you go to the each module and in each POM, and you define the new version here. It's obviously the time taking task and error prone. You might leave the old version somewhere. Now let's understand the power of this profile. So let's say what I'm saying, I'm creating a one more tag here called build version. So you will see here I define an additional property called build version, and I will add a version here, whatever version is here. Let me say the version is this, or I will update one. Now this is just a property. So how I can use this? Now this is being used as a expression tag. You know this tag insightly. So what I'll do, I will say, okay, add this expression and use this variable here, right? So now what happened, it will take this variable here, you can define this variable here, and this tag will take whatever written here. So now the same thing you can add in all your modules, all your POM, wherever it is being used. Next time when you build, it will take this version. So if next time you have to update version, you just define at one place and you are done. So let me add this everywhere, wherever we need this. So I have updated version in all the places. It's around 15-16 places. So assume if you have to, every time you have to update that, how much effort it will take. So now what happened, my default version is 1.0.snapshot. Earlier was 1.0.10 snapshot. So if I build now, it will take this version everywhere wherever I have defined. So let me build this first, ambient clean and install. So now it will take that version, and all the modules will be having the version 1.0.1 snapshot. And even if you see here, every module is taking that version. So if you see, every module taken version, updated version. But what is the advantage of it? Let's say I will not, every time I will not take this version, right? If I want to update, I'll update at only one place. But if you want to give a dynamic version, so you can give that. So how will you do that? -d capital, my build.version means whatever the variable I had, equal to 1.1.0. Now it will take this version, because dynamically I'm giving this version. Same way, if you have any password or something, you can store that in Jenkins. At build time, you can define here as a variable, so no one will see that. Now let me build this. Okay, so it did not take version. Let's see what is the reason. Ideally it should take. Okay, I use VERION. I missed version and I used version there. Okay, so I used wrong. I typed wrong word here, but now let's use this, right? So let me do it one more time. Okay, so what I'll do, ambient clean install -d, and it is build -verion. I missed type it. Okay, so I'm not correcting now, but I'm giving whatever I added in my POM. You will see here I use verion. Now, so let me build one more time, 1.1.0. now it should take this version, and you see it is start taking it. All the modules you will see 1.0.0. Okay, so it took version whatever I gave dynamically, and it's working now. So I will correct this word and I will commit this code in Git. I hope you understood. If you have any question, add your comment. Thank you.